My name is Elise. I'm 33 years old and work in a corporate job. I've been married to Luke for 2 years. He's 3 years older than me and works at a company similar to mine. Since we got married, we've been living with his parents in a 2-family home. Luke has one older brother, Cody, who's 6 years older than him. Before Luke and I got married, Cody and his wife, Krist, were living with their parents. Krist talks a lot and is very competitive, which often caused arguments with her mother-in-law. Eventually, Cody and his dad got tired of the fights and decided to move out. Luke had been living on his own before we got married, so neither of us thought about living with his parents. But then, his mom suddenly told us, "After you get married, you'll be living with us." Both my parents and Luke were shocked. I thought we'd stay in my apartment until we had kids, as it was more convenient for me to commute. We were both surprised, but we decided it would be easier to live at his parents' house since the commutes would be the same. Their house, built by Luke's grandfather, is old but has a main house and a guest house. We thought we would have enough privacy, so we agreed to move in. However, after moving in, I quickly regretted it. Luke's mom, who's in her 60s, started complaining about back pain and dizziness. She gave all the housework to me, including cleaning, laundry, and shopping. I work full-time, so even sharing chores with Luke didn't leave us enough time for our own lives, let alone his parents. On top of that, we had unexpected financial problems. The guest house needed major repairs. When we first saw it, it looked fine from the outside, but inside it was falling apart. We agreed to pay for the renovations since it was our space, but when my mother-in-law saw the finished guest house, she insisted that we fix up the main house too. She said, "You can't fix up the guest house and leave us living in a rundown house." We couldn't afford to fix everything at once, but she didn't care. She said, "Why is Elise working if she's not helping her in-laws?" She also wanted new expensive furniture and appliances, saying that the renovated rooms needed the best. On top of that, they made us pay for everything, even small things like green onions or toilet paper. Despite trying to save money by bringing our own food, my in-laws ordered takeout every day. Guess who paid for it? We did, using the family card that Luke was forced to get. This situation has made it hard for Luke and me to save any money. Every month, we stress out trying to balance the family budget right before the credit card bill is due. Luke and I had talked to my in-laws many times, telling them that we appreciated everything, but they needed to ease up. Luke even pointed out that they were making us pay for everything, from the renovations to daily expenses, utilities, and even property taxes. We were covering it all. His parents responded by saying, "Supporting your parents is natural," and scolded us harshly. This led to us both getting upset and crying, hoping it would make them listen. This situation had been going on for over 2 years. As we were about to enter our 3rd year living with them, things took a turn. My mother-in-law and Cody, Luke's brother, suddenly told us that we had to move out because they were moving in. Krist, Cody's wife, explained that Cody had been laid off. She said Cody had chosen to be laid off to help a colleague with kids, calling him kind-hearted. I was shocked. "How irresponsible can you be? You have twin babies yourself." I said, "How will you afford living if you move back home?" She mentioned that Cody had graduated from a top university, unlike Luke, and could easily find another job. So, I asked why he couldn't just find another place to live. She said he had no choice because he was living in company housing, which he had to leave by the end of the month. She also added that at least Krist wasn't a disappointing daughter-in-law like me for not having given them grandkids yet. Luke and I were frustrated and upset. We sat there for 2 hours while his parents argued with us on their comfy sofa. Finally, we had enough. "Fine, we'll move out this week," I said. Luke agreed, saying, "We've learned a lot from you, and now it's time to put that wisdom into practice." So, we made the decision to leave. 2 weeks later, we had movers scheduled and packed up everything. We planned the move during my in-laws' usual lunch at karaoke, so there wouldn't be any complaints about the things we were taking. We finished everything in 3 days, using our paid leave, and started our new life. Then, one day at work, I got a call from the front desk saying someone from my family was there to see me. I had a feeling my mother-in-law would show up soon, but I didn't expect her to come to see me instead of Luke. I quickly texted Luke, "She went to your place." "Huh? Sorry for the trouble," he replied. "No worries, but what should we do? I don't want to cause trouble at work." I suggested, "Just tell Maya to step out for a meeting. Do you think that'll work?" Luke responded, "Cody has 1-year-old twins himself. What's he going to do about expenses if he moves in?" I texted back, "Got it." I passed the message to the front desk, and my in-laws left as planned. That night, as Luke and I drove back to our in-laws' compound, we saw them, along with Cody and his wife, rush out of the main house and the guest house to greet us. Upon a closer look, I saw that both my mother-in-law and father-in-law had a baby strapped to their backs, probably Cody's twins. As I was locking the car, Cody shouted angrily, "Hey, how dare you show up here in my parents' cars?" Luke responded calmly, "Your parents' cars? Which ones?" This made Cody even angrier. "The cars you both drove up in," he yelled. I answered, "Well, Cody, both these cars were bought by us. Our names are even on the registration. Do you want to see?" Luke added, "Exactly. I've been annoyed by how our parents drive these cars like they own them. We let it slide because we were living together, but now there's no reason to let them borrow them." I also reminded him, "And don't forget that dad-in-law has that old minivan he used for work." At this point, Christ, who had been glaring at us, jumped in. "Who cares about that old car?" I responded, "But it's perfect for twins, isn't it? You can fit 2 car seats in the back." This back and forth made our in-laws uncomfortable, but then the topic shifted. Cody asked, "What about the furniture and the appliances? Taking those while we're away is stealing, not just from the main house, but from the guest house too." He and Christ both complained they couldn't live without those things. That's when Luke calmly said, "Why should we have to leave them?" I said, "Look, I get that we're using the guest house, but there's no reason to take stuff from the main house too." Things started to heat up when I asked, "Isn't that stuff something we all pitched in for?" Luke's dad shot back, "Once you give something, it's ours." Luke responded calmly, "Hold on, we never gave you anything, we just lent it to you. There's no paperwork saying it's yours." Both his parents were shocked by his response. Luke kept going, "We lived together, so we lent stuff as a courtesy. Now that we're living separately, why should we keep lending it to you? We're taking back what's ours. Is that a problem?" Luke and I smiled at each other, and everyone seemed to come to their senses. Then his parents asked, "But we have washing machines and fridges too, you don't need 2 of each." Luke answered, "Exactly, so why not lend them to us again?" I added, "Well, with all the stuff we've moved, it's getting cramped in our new place." Luke and I smiled, agreeing, "It's a tight fit right now." Christy started to speak, but we cut her off. "Remember, it's a storage room, so it's supposed to be cramped," I said. We both laughed, then added, "Until the official contract is done, this is how it has to be." Our in-laws were left confused. Then Luke dropped a bombshell, "By the way, we're moving to Boston next month." Luke explained that both of us had been offered jobs at the corporate headquarters, but we had turned them down because we were living with my in-laws. Now that we were moving out, we had both accepted the transfers and got internal notifications for new positions at the headquarters. If all goes well, we could work there until retirement. Then Luke added, "By the way, a colleague of mine is moving overseas for a while and wanted to sell his high-rise condo." Everything lined up perfectly. My in-laws were shocked. "Wait, you're going to live in a high-rise condo in Boston? How did that happen?" Luke smiled and said, "Life's funny, huh? If Cody and the gang hadn't told us to move out, we wouldn't have stumbled onto this." One of my in-laws asked, "How can you afford a high-rise condo? That seems impossible." Luke explained, "That's thanks to Elise's dad, he helped with the down payment. My sister is inheriting the family property, so this is kind of a trade-off. Plus, the condo's previous owner gave us a big discount because we agreed to store his modern altar while he's away." Luke added, "With that discount, it feels like we're the ones getting the better deal." At that moment, Christy, who had been standing nearby, burst into tears, saying, "That's so unfair. I'd rather live in a high-rise in Boston than in Atlanta." The in-laws, who had been quiet until now, suddenly started praising Luke, saying, "Looks like Luke really has it together, doesn't he? Like mother, like son." But Luke ignored them completely and turned to me. They said, "Living in a high-rise in Boston? Everyone's going to be jealous. When are you moving? We must visit." Luke smiled and said, "Why visit for just a short time? If we're going to Boston, you should come too." The in-laws agreed, "That's an interesting idea." But Cody and Christy were not happy. Cody snapped at them, "What are you talking about? Cody's being downsized, so you'll have to support us. Plus, until I find another job, Christy will have to go back to work, and you'll have to take care of the house and the twins." The tension grew, and Cody and Christy marched up to the in-laws, who were holding the twins. The babies started crying, and their cries woke up the entire neighborhood. The neighbors, who had heard the shouting and crying, were now watching from a distance. My in-laws looked embarrassed and turned red. They looked at Luke, waiting for him to say something. Luke smiled and said, "So this is a battle between a raccoon and a fox, huh?" Turning to the people around him, he explained, "If neither of our families works together, our finances will collapse next month." Christy, upset, asked what he meant. I added, "Christy, you thought that if Cody lost his job and moved back into his parents' house, you could just shift the utility bills and groceries onto them, right? Well, we've been paying for everything around here, and you can't rely on us anymore." Luke continued, "And starting next month, you'll need to help with the mortgage payments for the house renovation. The loan is in my father's name, not ours." Christy asked why it was in his father's name, and Luke explained, "I wanted the loan in my name since I was paying for it, but my dad insisted it would be shameful, so we used the house as collateral. We've been transferring money to his account to cover the loan, but now Cody needs to start helping." My in-laws and Cody didn't like that, but Luke stood firm. "We're giving up the inheritance, Cody, since you'll inherit the house. It's time to take care of your parents and the house." When my mother-in-law insisted that children should always take care of their parents, Luke replied, "Well, considering we've been covering your living expenses and the loan payments for the last 2 years, I think that pretty much balances out any future caregiving costs I'd have as a son." Luke turned to me and said, "Let's go home, love." I said, "Goodbye, everyone. I doubt we'll meet again. Take care." The next day, Luke and I sold the furniture and appliances we'd moved from the main house, along with 2 cars we wouldn't need anymore. When Christy texted asking if she could have the items, I simply replied, "Why?" and blocked her. After that, we used up all our remaining vacation days to finish moving into the new apartment. Buying the high-rise condo would take more time, so we decided to rent for the first year, thanks to my boss, who owned the place. One weekend, after all the stress, Luke and I were able to relax. As we looked at the city lights, Luke broke the silence. "I know I've been a hassle this time, but thanks for sticking with me." I teased him, asking, "What's with the formal tone all of a sudden?" But Luke continued, "When we first got married, I should have thought more about the idea of living together. Back then, I was just happy that you chose me over Cody, since we were always compared growing up. We've been following our parents' wishes without really thinking, and when they told us to move out so they could bring Cody and his family in, I realized how they had been a burden on us for so long." Luke went on, "Then I thought about how much your parents must worry about you because of your situation, so I sent them an apology email. They said they'd forgive the past as long as we promised to make their daughter happy in the future. After that, they gave us the down payment for the condo without hesitation." Luke promised to do everything he could to protect our life together and our future, especially if we were blessed with children. Meanwhile, it seems like my in-laws are struggling. They're even using their retirement income to barely cover the home renovation loan. They can't afford to support 2 households anymore, and Cody's efforts to find a new job have failed. Christy had to go back to work early, and now the family relies on her salary and the money my in-laws earn from part-time jobs at a local senior center. Arguments have become frequent and loud, often overheard by the neighbors. A former colleague of mine texted, saying there's gossip that my in-laws might be planning to leave town. They've cut off all contact with Luke and me, and when they tried to reach out to us, my dad immediately changed his phone number. Considering how they'd always belittled my family and never bothered with any pre-marriage courtesies, changing the phone number was a small but important step. Now they have almost no way to contact us. What goes around, comes around.